Hey folks! So I made a short recently going over the maximum profit that you could make in a single season of a game called Fields of Mistria. If you don't know what Fields of Mistria is, it's a farming sim in the same vein as a Stardew Valley or a Harvest Moon or an Animal Crossing. You know the deal. And I've been a little bit obsessed with it. I'm creeping up on 100 hours and the game's still in early access, so I'm a little bit obsessed. And I got to thinking, how much money could you make in this game in a season? Because I've been doing a lot of crunching of the numbers on how much money you can make off certain crops or certain animals and the different aspects of the game. And so I made a short on this, going over all of my calculations for what I determined to be the maximum amount of money you could make in a single season. But it was really hard to fit into 60 seconds. So today, I'd just like to go over with you guys the true in-depth calculations of what is the best possible scenario, the most amount of money you could make in a single season of Fields of Mistria. So let's first start off at the most basic aspect of this calculation, the season. We are going to be calculating for summer. This is because in summer you can grow what I consider to be the highest value crop, tea. Now, tea sells for 135 treasure, but it can be turned into green tea, which sells for 145 treasure. Now, I'm not going to be factoring this into the calculations because I don't have any hard numbers for this, but I will say that whatever number we get here is lowballed, because when turning tea into green tea, you have the chance to proc both of the perks in cooking that will give you extra profit. The perk where you get an additional product, aka you get a second green tea when you make green tea, and the perk that gives you back some of what you used to make the recipe, which in our case is just an extra tea back, which will give us another chance to proc it again. You can see how that gets a little carried away. Needless to say, tea is our best option. So next we have to figure out just how much tea we can plant. And for this, it was pretty simple. I went around my entire farm and I measured the perimeter and then I calculated the area. Pretty simple middle school math. And in the end, I might have been off by a bit, but I came to 3,037 tiles. So now that we know what we're going to plant and we know how much we're going to plant of it, we just need to know how much money we're going to make off of that plant. And lucky for me, in my research trying to find what are the most profitable plants, I came up with a formula that I can use to calculate exactly how much a specific crop will give me over the course of a full season. Now, I have two separate formulas, right? One for a crop that grows only once and one for a regrowing crop. Because we're using tea, which is a regrowing crop, we'll use this formula, which is the sell price of the tea times 28 minus the time that it takes for the crop to grow the first time, aka 5, divided by the time that it takes for the crop to regrow, which is 3 plus 1. And then all of that we round down, because we obviously can't have 0.667 of a harvest, right? We're just not going to get that last harvest. And that gives us a total of 1,160 treasure per tea for the whole season. Multiplying that by the amount of tiles that we get in that season, we end up with 3,522,920 treasure. And that does sound like a lot, but we are missing some things. That's where it starts to get complicated here. So the first thing we have to consider is obviously we're not just getting this tea out of nowhere, right? We can't just magically have 3,037 tea seeds, right? We have to buy those, and that is going to cost a pretty penny. In fact, it costs 911,100 treasure, which is a lot of money to invest in this. So if you're gonna try and do this, there's no way that you're gonna be able to do it before year 2. This brings us to something a little bit more complicated and something that you might not first consider: stamina. Because when you have 100 crops, right, that's, you know, you're like, okay, I can just water my crops, it'll take like half my stamina, and then I'll go about the rest of my day. But it costs 3,037 stamina per day to run this farm. In fact, there would be no way to run this farm without purchasing stamina, which brings us to the potion store. Now, I think in my time playing the game have never once touched the potion store, but you can buy bottles of stamina for 500 treasure apiece, and each bottle gives you 100 stamina. So if we had to buy all of the stamina to use on every specific day, we would need to use 15,500 treasure to buy 31 bottles of stamina every single day. That's so much. Now, in my calculations, I actually used 15,185 because I used the actual decimal number without rounding up to be more realistic to the fact that you'd have to buy the whole bottle. But I also didn't factor in that you will start with 200 stamina, so I guess technically it'd be a little bit less. But the real question we have to ask ourselves is, how many times do we have to buy this much stamina? And that's where I start getting into the stipulations of how we want to set up this season, because this is our best season. We want to give ourselves the best opportunities to make the most money. And so here are the stipulations. Stipulation 1. We have already shoveled out and hoed out every single tile in the game before we start the summer. That way, we don't have to waste what would effectively be an additional 2 days worth of watering on the first day, right? That just saves us some money. We can just do it with leftover stamina as we go through the other days. Now, the second thing is more important for what I'm about to get into, and that is that we want to start with a full 3 bars of magic. That's where I want to get into this fun calendar, because I want to use every single opportunity that I can to use the rain spell to water the plants instead of watering them by hand. Not only because I'm lazy and I don't want to have to water every single day, but because it also saves us over 15,000 treasure every time we do it. So if we min-max every single use of the rain spell and recognize that past day 26, there's no longer a point to watering the crops because we will not be able to get another harvest of the crops in that season, we get ourselves down to 15 times that we have to manually water our plants, which multiplied by the 15,185 gold it takes for every single one of those gives us 227,775 additional treasure lost, which means that net loss is 1,138,875 treasure. So a lot of money. However, not nearly enough to make this anything less than the most profitable you could possibly be, because if we subtract that from our previous total, we end up with our final number for how wealthy this could possibly make us at 2,384,045 treasure, or 85,144 treasure per day. That is the max profit. And this is a low ball because I'm just gonna go over all the perks that will make this better that I did not talk about. The cooking perks that I talked about earlier, where you get bonus drops for cooking, those are just going to occasionally double our product. Even if it's 10% of the amount that we produce, that's gonna be insane. There's also the perk that sometimes gives you stamina back when you water your plants, or the perk that sometimes gives you additional seed packets when you water your plants, which, by the way, sells for the same price as the product itself at 135. Obviously, you can't turn a seed packet into the green tea, so you don't get the full 145, but still a lot of money. And that's not all, because when you harvest the plants, which, oh my god, harvesting this will be a pain in the ass, you also have a chance for the crop to drop other recipes that it's in. And Jesus, tea is in so many different tea recipes. So it drops a lot of additional products that is also not being factored into this. I'm kind of tempted to do this. If people like this video, if you guys, let me know down in the comments if you want me to do this for real. Let me know. If there's enough people that want me to do it, I might just, because I'm really curious to see the true upper limits of this setup. And if you have ideas to make this more profitable, maybe do something with those last couple of days, let me know down there too. I'd really appreciate any sort of feedback on that. But you know, I hope you guys found this as interesting as I do. That's it from me, guys. I'll catch you guys next time when I talk about the best and worst crops of every season. Or I play Celeste. One of the two. Peace out.